Hi, my name is Felicia. I am here to discuss my article of choice, which is the false recognition following the study of semantically related lists presented in jumbled word form. Now, in a little less official wording, how we can relate to this is autocorrect, right? When you're texting a text and then all of a sudden you're you don't even know what just happened with your fingers, but you have now typed in a completely random not word instead of the one that you intended. This article is kind of like that. So, what the authors, Sarah H. Holcomb, John P. Taylor, Cara D. Souza, and William P. Wallace wanted to test was that recognition with those jumbled words when presented. So, how they went about doing this was they used three experiments varying in intensity for the participants to challenge that recognition. What they did with the first one was kind of a nice little simple test. They brought the participants in ahead of the test to give them a nice little study list. What was on the said study list was categories of words. So that way, this built a little bit more of association when it came to the control word that would be jumbled later on in the actual test. So, for example, they would have words collectively together, such as bedtime, night, and sleep. And for example, the jumbled word would be sleep in the test. So instead of spelt the correct way, they would switch up those middle words specifically. Not words, they're letters. Oh my gosh, my mind is a little jumbled right now, too. Um, Let's see. Okay, so that was the first experiment. The second and third one added more variables with this to make it a little bit more challenging because they realized that with that first experiment, there was a pretty low number of that false jumbled word recognition. So they decided to put in a time frame to kind of challenge our brains a little bit more with that perception. Now, I found this really interesting with its connection to the selective attention that we discussed from chapter 5. When there's so many things that are going on around you, your mind kind of pays attention to those main important things rather than the minuscule stuff. And that would be those letters on the inside. So what it does is it registers that first and last letter and kind of joins it all together as one. So your brain is auto-correcting it for you instead of making you read it letter by letter to process it. And that's really cool. Um, okay, we've gone over all three of the experiments now. So the next thing that we can talk about is kind of the strengths and weaknesses of this article. So there's a couple of each that I thought were the most important with this. The first strength and weakness both have to do with the participants. I feel like they had a very good amount of participants per experiment. But a concern that I had with this was there was never a specification of whether there were reoccurring ones or not. So I feel like this can affect the study, given if you have people coming in who have already done previous experiments, with there being multiple, along with ones who haven't yet, there can be kind of that, flip flop of like, oh, this person might know what's going on. So they're going in with more of awareness of that processing versus people who have no idea what's going on. So it's going to be more of a genuine reaction to those experiments. Another weakness that I noticed was there was a lack of reflection in the conclusion when it came to what they can improve on in the future with this article. So there was a little bit discussed with an error that happened in experiment one, but not really a reflection of how they could go about fixing that or doing it better, or honestly, in any of the experiments. But I feel like it was really nice and structured. They had a set discussion and result category for each of the experiments individually, along with a collective one at the end, so that they could put all of that learned information together to kind of make the nice, gist of what happened.